But the defensive lineman who has spent a multitude of years with the Ravens, was also with the Jacksonville Jaguars, still productive at age 37. He is coming to Atlanta for a visit, just for a free agent visit for now. The Atlanta Falcons are going to host him on a free agent visit, and we're going to see. I will say this, though, as far as the free agent visit goes. We 1-for-1 this offseason. If you remember, not too long ago, Mike Hughes, actually it was this past weekend, Mike Hughes was on a free agent visit here to the ATL, and the Falcons, hook, line, and sinker, got him right in, and now Mike Hughes is an Atlanta Falcon. So the Falcons are 1-for-1 when it comes to these free agent visits. And hopefully we make it 2-for-2 and bring in defensive lineman Calais Campbell. Because if we add a guy like Calais Campbell to this already improved defensive line, man, the depth of this offensive line gonna be pretty solid. It's gonna be pretty solid. We really gonna be cooking with gas, y'all. So I am really, really hoping the Atlanta Falcons can bring in Calais Campbell. Calais Campbell last year, at the age of 37, mind you, still racked up 5.5 sacks, still had 2 forced fumbles, was still a presence there in the middle. So it's not like, oh, he's too old, he ain't gonna have nothing left. No. You could compare what Calais Campbell would mean on this team. Honestly, we're keeping it a bean, we're keeping it a buck. He honestly would be comparable to what Dwight Freeney meant to the 2016 Super Bowl team. And he could be a little bit more productive, to be quite honest. We're actually going to compare the stats here in just a second. But I really, really like the idea of bringing Calais Campbell in. Could really be a good mentor to these young guys, teach them everything he knows, take him under his wing, teach all his moves to David Onyemata. Grady Jarrett probably know all the moves already, but anything else he can teach Grady, he shows to Grady. Take Arnold Ebiketie under his wing, Taquan Graham. So, good veteran presence, good presence in the locker room. But the other thing that Calais Campbell could do for the Atlanta Falcons, buy them time. What do I mean by that? Calais Campbell could honestly allow the Falcons to look in a different direction when it comes to that 8th overall pick. Because even with the addition of David Onyemata, I was still wanting the Atlanta Falcons to double down on interior defensive linemen, maybe even edge rusher when it comes to the NFL draft. But now, with this move, I honestly would be okay with the Atlanta Falcons looking at cornerback, looking at offensive tackle, looking at outside linebacker. Now, before you get in a tizzy, because I just said offensive tackle, what the plan would be, in my opinion, if the Falcons did go in that direction, whoever you decide to draft, you put him at that left guard spot first. Then, give him a couple of years at that left guard spot. Then you can shift them over to left tackle when Jake Mathews' time is come and gone. So that would be the plan for me if you did want to go offensive lineman with the 8th overall pick. If you did want to go Peter Skoronski or Broderick Jones or somebody of that nature, Paris Johnson as well. You could also go Christian Gonzalez. And actually, at 540, we're going to get to know Christian Gonzalez a little bit because, again, I don't want to count my eggs before they're in my basket. But if we are able to sign Calais Campbell, and by the way, we'll talk about this more in Around the A, the Falcons also reinstated the interior defensive lineman Eddie Goldman from the retired and reserve list. So we'll get more into that in about 10 minutes when we go Around the A. But talking about adding Eddie Goldman, possibly bringing in Calais Campbell. Now you have good depth already at the defensive line position. So now you can maybe wait until the second round, because this is a deep draft for pass rushers. This is a deep draft for interior defensive linemen. I would be okay waiting to the second round to draft the defensive lineman. Maybe you even trade that second round pick, try to get back into the first round, late first round, and get you a defensive lineman late first round, again, or early second round. You have a pretty early second round pick as well. So this Calais Campbell move could mean a multitude of things for the Atlanta Falcons and could do a multitude of good for the Atlanta Falcons. So I am really, really, really excited about that news. That is making me real happy, if you can't tell. Also, if we're talking about the draft and what Calais Campbell coming on the team could do for the Falcons as far as giving them flexibility in this year's NFL draft, they can maybe now look at getting outside linebacker. Maybe you look at a Nolan Smith at number 8. Just gives you options, because now you add even more depth to that defensive line if you add Calais Campbell. And again, I don't think, and I'm not saying that you just completely forget about defensive line. I still want you to draft somebody in the second round if you don't draft nobody in the first round. Because to me, you go one of two ways with your first 2 picks. You got 2 choices. Choice number 1, you draft interior defensive lineman with the 8th overall pick, and you draft corner with your second round pick. Or choice 2, you flip them. You draft corner with the 8th overall pick, you go interior defensive lineman with your second round pick. Those are 2 choices right there. You ain't messing around with running back. I know everybody's talking about, if the Falcons get Calais Campbell, they might draft Bijan. Get that out of here. Don't bring that energy. Don't say those words. Don't nobody want to see us draft Bijan Robinson with the 8th overall pick. We just saw Tyler Algier, a 5th round pick, rush for 1,000 yards in only 17 games. He was not active week 1, remember? Actually, he only did it in 16 games because we had a bye week, obviously. So in 16 games, Tyler Algier rushed for 1,000 yards. You don't need to spend an 8th overall pick on Bijan Robinson. That will be the only thing that would completely infuriate me and just make me throw my hands up in the air and be like, what are we doing? If we draft, I don't even want to get this into my mental space, but if we draft Bijan Robinson with the number 8 overall pick, honestly, it's going to put a big old blemish on what Terry Fontenot, what Arthur Smith have done this offseason. Because to right now, they're batting 1,000 to me. I don't think they've made a misstep, not one bit. I've loved every single move they've made. But if you go and draft Bijan Robinson with number 8 overall pick, I'm sorry. I'm dropping you from an A+++ all the way down to a B-, period. But I don't think the Atlanta Falcons will do that. I think they either go corner, outside linebacker, or interior defensive lineman. Maybe Tyree Wilson, who's more of a traditional edge rusher. So he might be a 3 technique. He might be a stand-up outside linebacker for this team. Not sure. We'll talk about that more when we get closer to the NFL draft. But let me know your thoughts. @_Dylan Mathews. You can tweet me how you're feeling about the Falcons bringing in Calais Campbell for a free agent visit. I would love to have Calais here. Come on down to the A, Calais. We got you. It is Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. It is the Hometown Take with your boy, Dylan Mathews. When we come back in 5 minutes, you already know what time it is. Time to go around the A. Plenty of Atlanta Falcons headlines to get into. The Atlanta Hawks, thank goodness, took care of business last night, but can they do it again tonight? Can they give us two good back-to-back performances? I don't know. We know that consistency word is a shaky word when it comes to the Atlanta Hawks. But plenty Falcons headlines to get into. We'll talk about the Hawks. We'll visit all the local stories in the city of Atlanta and the state of Georgia when we go around the A. It is Sports Radio 92.9 The Game.